Good morning and welcome back to Alive and Thriving. In the past, you've heard me make the distinction between idealizing something and idolizing something. If you were to idealize the sun, then you would want to shine forth life-giving energy to the solar system. If you idolized the sun, then you would worship the burning ball of fire in the sky and you would pray that it bless you, versus trying to become the actual blessing that is radiating life force energy throughout the solar system. Today, we're going to hear Jesus tell us, "You fail utterly to see." And each time he says that, he's speaking to the part of our mind that would idolize the person in the flesh that they were referring to as Jesus at the time. He's going to say, "You fail utterly," in an attempt to jog that part of our subconscious mind that is aware of the difference between idealizing and idolizing. We want to be focusing on the ideal of Christ, not the personality of Jesus. The unified source field connection that we all occupy is the core of the religion, not the systems and the legalism or the dogma that we have put into place around the core.
We are fast approaching a cosmic event that is going to have a profound effect on our consciousness.
We are part and parcel of the one infinite creator, and
by presenting the ideal of Christ,
you embody the energy signature back of that ideal. This is Nathaniel J. with Alive and Thriving, and we are here to create graduate level Christians. You fail utterly to see that after this great awakening or realization within myself that I am the Christ, it took long days and nights of struggle in seclusion and silence, all alone, right within myself and with myself. Then when the self was conquered, it took the far greater and more bitter experiences of personal contact with those I loved dearly and to whom I wished to show the light that I had perceived. Knowing it was the light that burns so brightly, lighting the path of every child of God that is created or that comes into the world. So he says that after I had the theoretical and visceral glimpse of what I really am, I had to struggle on in this world where other people did not accept and had no conception of this awareness and truth that I had attained. This is Jesus talking. And then I had to go and I had to deal with the bitter experiences of being around what you might call non-believers or critics or cynics or anybody that had not had this experience yet and wasn't willing to acknowledge that you have had it. And you've probably been there in your walk of faith. You fail utterly to see the great temptation that beset me to go on and be the carpenter I might have been, and thence live the short span of life allotted to me by hierarchy and orthodoxy, instead of taking up a life which perception had only given me a glimpse of, thus allowing me to see through the murk and mire of superstition, discord, and disbelief. You fail utterly to follow the bodily anguish, the ignominious insults that were heaped upon me by my own kin alone, aside from those to whom I strove to show the light I had perceived. You failed to see that this took a will stronger than my own, which sustained me through these trials, and how little you can know of the trials and struggles, temptations, and defeats that beset me. How at times I struggled on with clenched fists and set teeth, seeing and knowing that the light was there, although there seemed to be but one last flickering ray, and at times it seemed that that last ray had gone out and shadow was cast in its place. Even then, something within me was ever strong and dominant, that back of the shadow, the light was as bright as ever. I went on and I cast aside the shadow and found the light burning ever brighter because of the temporary dimming. Even when the shadow proved to be the cross, and I could see beyond, the final awakening of a triumphant morn that passed beyond the understanding of mortal man, still immersed in fear, doubts, and superstition. So mankind, he says that even though I could see that the ultimate realization lay beyond the cross, lay beyond the destruction of the physical flesh, I still knew that it was there, even though man, standing in their mortal bodies, immersed in fear, doubts, and superstition, could not see it. It was the very urge of this perception that set me on, determined to drink the cup to the fullest draught, that I might know by actual experience and contact whereof I spoke, that man, by the free will of God, coupled with his own free thought and pure motive, could prove for himself alone that God is divine and that man, his true son, born in his image and likeness, is as truly divine as the Father is divine, and that this divinity is the true Christ that every man sees and perceives, is in himself and in all of God's children. So right there, the Christ that every man sees is in himself and in all of God's children. And that is the through line, the resounding, repetitious message of the life and the teaching of the masters of the Far East, of the Christ energy itself, or as Martinez refers to it, X2, the creative principle. There's the creator, the creative medium, or the creative principle, and the resultant creation, or said in biblical terms, the triune principle, the Mother, the Father, and the Son. The Father, the great architect of the cosmos, the initiator, and then the Mother, the facilitator of that which is to be born into existence. So it is that X1 represents the Father, X2 represents the Christ, and X3 represents the creation. This true Christ is the light that lights every child that comes into the world. It is the Christ of God, our Father, in, through, and by whom we all have everlasting life, light, love, and true brotherhood, the true fatherhood, the true sonship of God and man. In this light of this true understanding or truth, you do not need a king, a queen, a crown, a pope, or a priest. You, in the true perception, are the king, the queen, the pope, the priest, and none but yourself and God stand alone. You expand this true perception to take in the whole universe of form and shape. And with your God-given creative ability, you surround them with the perfection that God sees and surrounds them with. When standing forth in right dominion, in true spiritual perception, the personality self amalgamated with divine mind, so as to achieve personality transparency. In order for all of these things to take place, a divine right timing need to be in order, and Jesus has made it very clear that through free will and God's free will, you can condense all of the necessary hurdles, trials, tribulations, temptations, and meditations into a single life and achieve Christ consciousness, known as enlightenment, millions of years faster than if you were to go through life upon life of reincarnation, encrusting karmic experience to your shell again and again and again until it takes superhuman sledgehammer blows to break that shell, to get to the center of that lollipop, and for you then to accept your real, true identity. The identity that we associate as our personality is a misconception. It is what we think we are like. It does not necessarily or even accurately represent our true identity. Our true identity is the same exact identity that Christ demonstrated whilst he walked in physical flesh upon this earth, that which the Buddha demonstrated. Many people have come closer right? Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King. Great humanitarians have exemplified Christ-like traits. What separates Christ from those individuals is the actual personality transparency, where basically at all times, the Christ energy was flowing forth through the man that we have historically referred to as Jesus. So in your walk of faith, in your striving, seek to achieve personality transparency, that process by which we remove the layers of distorted thought and get back to participating in that original thought. Thank you for being here. This is Nathaniel J. Namaste.